The Massachusetts primaries are right around the corner. You go to the polls on September 6th, the day after Labor Day, which is kind of crazy because a lot of us are still checked out, very much in summer mode, not thinking about things political. If that applies to you, this is the video for you to watch. Special pint-sized edition of our show, Talking Politics. I'm Adam Reilly here with the GBH News political team at Notch Brewing at the Speedway in Brighton for a quick primer to get you up to speed. Soraya Wintersmith, come on over. So Soraya, what are your races to watch right now?
My races to watch are the Suffolk County District Attorney's race and the 2nd Suffolk Senate seat.
All right, let's take them in that order. Why is the DA's race significant?
The district attorney is the official that has all of the power when it comes to setting bail requests and sentencing and dangerousness hearings, and they can have a hand in addressing racial disparities in the criminal legal system.
Also deciding what crimes are prosecuted and which aren't, right?
That's right.
Like Rachel Rollins made a big wave, the last DA, by choosing not to prosecute some. Who are the people vying for this seat? Who want to succeed her?
So we've got the interim Suffolk County DA, Kevin Hayden, and Ricardo Arroyo, a Boston city councilor. Both of these guys are Democrats with really deep ties to Boston. One has never run for office before, that's the interim DA. The other is a pretty well-known politician with pretty good backing from the Democratic establishment.
All right, both Democrats, both deep ties to Boston. What separates them?
When I interviewed one of our political analysts about this race, she said that Hayden can't out-progressive Arroyo. And I think that's a really great umbrella to think about the two of them with. Safe injection sites. Hayden says that he supports them generally with certain conditions. Ricardo Arroyo says categorically, yes, I want them. The law and immigration. Hayden says, yeah, DAs or prosecutors should know how the law impacts the people that they might be prosecuting. Ricardo Arroyo says, I want a whole new division in the DA's office that teaches prosecutors about the law and immigration.
Before we get to the next contest, really quickly, some allegations involving both candidates that we can't go into in detail here that are breaking at the last minute in the race. Do you see these as being decisive, or are so many people tuned out that it's not going to matter?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Boston struggles with voter apathy, as does many cities. Our city has already received like 12,000 mail-in ballots, and I don't think people can change their votes. Ricardo was pretty popular.
That's a funky dynamic. All right, what about the 2nd Suffolk race? This is a part of the city being represented in Beacon Hill. What's at stake here?
This is a new district that was carved out specifically so that voters in this really diverse portion of Boston can have specific representation. So it's heavily Black, and they're deciding what kind of Black, what flavor of Black they want to send to Beacon Hill to represent them.
A whole bunch of candidates in this race. We can't go into all of them, but is there a favorite or a couple of favorites right now?
You know, I don't think I've seen any polling.
I haven't either, and it's such a huge field, right, that you could win with a very small portion of the vote.
That's right.
All right, Soraya Wintersmith, thanks for this rundown. Katie Lannon, you want to hop over here? All right, so give me your primary races to watch.
All right, a couple ones I'm watching are the AG's race and the LG's race.
Let's take them in that order quickly. What intrigues you about the AG's race?
I think one of the intriguing things here is that we've seen Andrea Campbell kind of move her way up through the political ecosystem here in Massachusetts, starting just a handful of years ago as a fairly unknown city councilor. And we've seen her come up, become council president, run for mayor of Boston, and now she's leading two other candidates who have run statewide before, but she's at the head of the pack.
Before we talk about those other two candidates, people might not understand how broad the mandate of the Attorney General is. They're the top law enforcement official in the state, but what does that mean?
It's huge, right? You've seen Maura Healey has made a lot of headlines from suing the former president, Donald Trump.
About 100 times, right?
Yeah, quite a few times there, and for her involvement in the opioid settlements nationally. But the AG's office touches so many things. They do consumer protection work. They are in on electric prices as the ratepayer advocate. The AG, Maura Healey, now has been talking about crisis pregnancy centers. There's civil rights, there's healthcare. The AG's office has their hands in really everything that goes on.
So Andrea Campbell in this race is vying against Quentin Pelfrey, a former assistant attorney general, and Shannon Liss-Reardon, a labor attorney. Who's pressing Andrea Campbell, if anyone's pressing?
In the polls lately, we've seen Shannon Liss-Reardon coming up on her, closing that gap a little bit. Liss-Reardon has been on TV a lot. She's self-funding her campaign with about, I think, a couple $1 million in there. So she's got the money to go on TV, and she's really touting her work with drivers for Uber and in the gig economy. And then the thing we're also hearing from Quentin Pelfrey is going after both of them on Liz Reardon's self-funding. And there was a concern early in the race among the other two candidates that Andrea Campbell would be getting the kind of super PAC money she had behind her in the mayoral race.
Yeah, with a bunch of conservative funders, among others, right?
Right. They were trying to present the idea that she might be beholden to special interests, but she says, she's accountable to the voters, and then she points out that Liz Reardon is got her own money going into this race.
A lot of money. All right, on to your next race. Why is that one interesting and meaningful as you see it?
Interesting is sometimes kind of a stretch for the lieutenant governor's race or the lieutenant governor's office in theory, right?
Yep.
It's a pretty obscure job. It only has the one real duty of chairing the governor's council, which is the body that vets judicial nominations.
And yet you're intrigued by it.
And yet I'm intrigued by it. And here's why. I might not be intrigued by it if there was a competitive primary on the Democratic side for governor. But this is really the one choice voters are going to have on the Democratic ballot.
That's a good point.
To shape that ticket. So there's a way that voters can signal to the presumptive Democratic nominee, Maura Healey, what they're looking for. If they pick someone like Tammy Gouveia, the state rep from Acton, who's more progressive, that could be sending Healey a message that she should go more to the left. If we see Kim Driscoll, the Salem mayor, come out ahead here, that could be more of the Charlie Baker type Democrats staking their claim.
What would the Eric Lesser state senator message be if he's the nominee?
Yeah, Eric Lesser has been really trumpeting a cost of living message. He could also bring a Western Mass balance to the ticket. Most of the Democratic ballot is clustered in and around the Boston area.
That's
so
true.
If there's a voice out there that people want to get heard, that could be a shot. He's also been relying on his connections within the Obama administration for some big fundraising there.
I think every time that I've heard him talk, he's talked about his time in the Obama administration. So
yeah, it's
point
pretty
well
close,
taken.
yeah.
All right, Katie Landon, thanks.
Good to talk to you.
I had to limber up.
So, now that you're comfortable, give me your races to watch heading into the primary.
Well, the Republican race for governor and the Democratic primary for Secretary of State.
I wasn't combative with our other colleagues, but I got to ask you, why does the Republican gubernatorial primary matter, given that, by all accounts, Maura Healey is just going to cruise on into the corner office in the fall?
Well, because Charlie Baker's such a popular governor, I think we're about to see the end of a certain sort of republicanism in Massachusetts. Jeff Deal, standard bearer of Trump Republicans,
Yep.
and Chris Doughty, an independent businessman, is sort of the stand-in candidate for the Baker Republicans. And I think we're going to see the withering of a certain sort of Massachusetts republicanism.
It's worth noting this is a brand of republicanism that you've covered for decades. It's been so successful here in Massachusetts. Why do you think Republicans are likely to turn away from it and make Jeff Deal their nominee?
2 words: Donald Trump.
Yep.
Donald Trump has a hypnotic effect on a certain sort of voter. The republicanism I grew up with, Frank Sargent, John Volpe, Elliot Richardson, Senator Ed Brooke, a black man, a Republican, elected to the U.S. Senate. Today it sounds unthinkable. So, maybe it has something to do with my age, and that's an interesting insight, Adam. It's the passing of an era, I think.
Talk me through your other race. Why is that one significant?
Oh, Bill Galvin, who has been Secretary of State for 28 years, 7 terms, and Tanisha Sullivan, who is a corporate lawyer and the head of the NAACP. Bill Galvin, old Democrat, Tanisha Sullivan, new style progressive. It's a classic culture clash, even maybe more so than the Republican fight.
Yeah.
And Bill Galvin is a dinosaur. I mean, he's the last sort of regular statewide Democrat. When I say regular, I mean sort of old-fashioned in that Tip O'Neill sort of way, the Tip O'Neill, Bob DeLeo sort of way. He's ahead in the polls. Tanisha Sullivan's a very compelling and energetic candidate. Bill Galvin just basically shows up places and says, "Hi, I'm Bill Galvin. I've been Secretary of State for 28 years."
That's exactly right. There's an off chance, by the way, since we're here in Brighton, his home turf, he could mosey through that door in about
Very
2
well
minutes.
could. And everyone here would probably know him.
All right, Peter Kansas, thanks for the rundown.
Okay.
So there you have it. If you need any info that you didn't get here, go to gbhnews.org for coverage of all these races and candidates and some more stuff. On September 9th, we'll be back with a standard issue version of Talking Politics. Thanks for watching this pint-sized iteration. And make sure to hit the subscribe button if you want more content like this.